I might change this channel to only have videos about this place and other places like this, like KMH in Toronto and Waypoint, Penetang Machine, and make it like patient advisory, right? I don't know if I really want to do that because a lot of the patients I would never want us to have give advice for them to see the light of day, and they'll get it before me just by listening to it. But we know what happens when that happens. Exactly what I'm going to tell you right now, that is going to happen if you want to like just... One way you can get out of the system, this Ontario Review Board, not guilty by reason of insanity, not criminally responsible, NCR, criminal forensic patient, secure unit, general unit, outpatient, etc., conditional discharge. All that's going to be covered in this video. All getting an absolute discharge their way, the court way. If what you have to do and what it's going to be like so you don't come back. The court way. Save $2,000, $3,000 maybe, depending on your case, right? If you have a lot of rot on your case for bad shit you done here, like myself, I would never get out going to court, especially since I smoked a joint last time I appealed my case, right, in their courtroom. Why'd you appeal this case, Jackie, if you don't want to go back to the group home because you were appealing and you didn't ask for an absolute discharge? You can only go back to the group home on account of, it makes no sense. And the whole courtroom stunk of weed and you sit there like this, right, and smile. Well, case dismissed, right? No, get back to the hospital, right? Yeah. Don't do that if you want to win your appeal, right? So, if you go file an appeal of your... so filing an appeal of the disposition, this is how it works. When you get your reasons for disposition returned, that means your disposition has come in. That means that it's like your parole papers for the year. And the reasons for them. That's another document that states, it's like the full document that states the board happened, these are the reasons why the disposition is like this. You have 15 days only to file an appeal of the disposition. When those boards are happening, that patient advocate that does that is going to be off duty and not answering calls. You have to contact your lawyer, you have to contact the courthouse of appeals. They don't want to do that. Your lawyer does not want to do that. You have to do it yourself. They don't want to apply legal aid for it anymore. You have to pay it yourself, your own lawyer fee. The legal aid does not cover it anymore. If you do that, if you pay out of your own pocket, you will get it. Like I said, if you smoke a joint, next time not happening either, right? Yeah, no, you got to do it their way. Alright, so you want to get an absolute discharge, and let's say you have a detention order, and you want to go straight from detention order to absolute discharge without getting a conditional discharge. How does that work? It doesn't, really. You have to be in a pretty, like in other countries other than Canada, I mean, it could work. It has worked. It has worked. Now, I don't know, this is how it worked. The crime might have been... Yeah, what's the crime, right? Well, how did it happen? Do they know you? You know, or do they not know you? They don't know a thing about you. You said it was the first thing you ever did. You are so sorry for it. You get your old job back. Your old friends, your old family advocates for you to get out because they don't want to see you here. And you do not give them any reason. You didn't break one rule. You answered every single question they gave you with no reason for them to sink you or risk to anything. Not yourself, not impairment, or others, right? That doesn't work anymore. Now you have to this is why they make conditional discharges, because that can't work, that doesn't work, right? People just can lie and get out, right? It happens, right? Yeah. So, you have to meet the conditions of your conditional discharge. A lot of people already meet all the conditions of their conditional discharge, but because they're just stupid and don't say the right things in the meetings, because they're just yappy or snitchy, and they don't know that they've even met the conditions of their conditional discharge. They're not getting out. If you go to the board and say, I have met the conditions of my conditional discharge, the disposition, and the doctor can't find any rational reason that your lawyer defends you with, and if you spoke and you got cross-examined and you didn't get cross-examined poorly, that's how you get out. If you represent yourself, you gotta know what you're doing. You'll be appointed an amicus. If you let that amicus do all the talking, you're probably gonna get less than what the hospital recommended for you. And you have to be a lawyer yourself, right? Yeah. That's for a different video. Now, what are these things that are going to get you back in if you get an absolute, or if you're on community living, which is not conditional discharge, it's still detention order, but they're trialing you out. And then conditional discharge, trialing you. What's going to get you back in? If you have an absolute, what are you going to do? Do you like where you live? If you're in a group home and you want to apply for an absolute discharge, but you say you don't want to be in a group home to them during that year, or even like a month before you're bored, you say you don't want to stay in the group home or something, you think you're going to get an absolute discharge, even if they were going to give it to you. You got to be happy with the conditions you're living in. Agree to, there's 6 months that you have to stay in exactly what they wanted the conditional discharge to be like after you get the absolute, or they can haul you back in now, because so many people have been hauled back in and done shitty shit, right? Yeah. So when I get out, why do I represent myself so good and know all these things, but I don't get out? What's going to happen when I get out? For someone that smoked a joint in the courtroom, there's this nasty, okay, well those aren't mine, but you know, I'm angry wombat that can't shut her mouth about all this shit, right? You think I'm not going to get arrested? They know I'm going to get arrested. But they know that I'm going to prison. And after all this time, do you think they want me to go to prison? They want to keep me in the system until they know that, like, until I'm old, right? But I'll be allowed to smoke weed eventually. That's why. They don't want me to smoke weed now. They don't. They want me to prove that all the things they say is going to be what works. And you people in this hospital are breaking the code of gangster by not getting me weed when I ask you. I'm the only one that can make weed look like it's the weed to make all the things they want work. For discharge, for making mental health good. Right? You know that now. See, if I smoke weed and I shut my mouth, stop doing this, get a job, because when I get level 4, the first thing I'm doing is handing out resumes. Even if I don't get a job, I'm going to hand out resumes until I get a job. Somewhere, Goodwill. I'll get a job at Goodwill. I can get a job at Goodwill. Putting clothes together, right? Sorting, washing donations. You think I can't do that? I'll do something. Okay, so they don't want me to do food because of this, she wanted to cook her steak rare. They don't want me to cook food anymore. Okay, no more pita pit down in the street, no more Subway. Well, I'm pretty strong, I can pick up boxes. What about Bulk Barn? What about Pot Shop? Right? What about even Walmart? being a stop, Walmart right there, ZipRecruiter, right? Anything. Yeah, I'm not working in there because that's go file for unemployment at the hospital job, right? And then collect money still working there because you're on the benefits for unemployment work status, right? Yeah, not that. And yeah, so anyways, enough about them, but so when you get your absent discharge, what do you want to do? Take off and be homeless? If you lose your housing, if you say you want a different apartment, you say you don't want to be here, you don't want to be here, you think you're going to go somewhere, you're not going anywhere. Your care plan has been made if you get an absolute discharge. If you want to destroy that, forget about your disability pension, forget about your housing, low-income housing, it's not happening anymore. If you go off your meds and have low-income housing, and you waited that 6 months and you prove that you don't want to come back into hospital even on the second floor level for a checkup and get back on and get out, you don't come in and get on your meds and get back out, your housing's lost and your disability pension's lost. You stay like that, well, that's your choice. I've seen that happen too, and that person hadn't been back in. No, that was a smart person. Out in a year. Yeah, out in a year. Right? Yeah. That was no harm crime at all, right? Not in for big crime, right? Dude was high or something and passed substance abuse group with flying colors. I changed at the end, right? What'd you learn after substance abuse class was over? We had to go a year. If you were in that group, that was your chance to do that. Those two people, my ex and him, were the ones who got that from that. Alright? No, why did nobody else in that group get out in a year even if they were clean next time? Well, what are other things? They're coming back in saying they don't want to live at the places they're in. You gotta be smart, or they don't want to take their meds, or they want to change you want to change your medication? Well, that's another thing. You don't like the medication? What do you want to change it to? What's going to be better? Is he the one in now? If you want to change the medication, what's going on with him? He get worse, eh? Yeah, worse. Worse. You don't want a needle? You don't want the pills? That's another thing. You're digging a hole for yourself worse than doing drug if you want to refuse treatment when they know you need treatment. If they've seen you well on the meds. Now, if they think, well, it's not the biggest thing in the world if this person goes off their meds, they'll probably come back in and on. They're saying they will. They've shown us they're adults, right? Gotten through the system. They want to stay with the system, not the forensic system, but have agreed to the schizophrenia outpatient department or mood disorders outpatient department, or some outpatient program where they have a psychiatrist in the community and they're seeing the ACT team. That's how you get out. You still have to be in the program. If they think you're smart enough to go get an engineering job, that's a little different. Then you have to show them that you can represent yourself at the board, like I'm doing. I've already shown that to them. But I'm an angry wombat. They don't care if I can just turn cutting speech. There's no good in cutting speech, right? I can sit there and have cutting speech at a job interview. I can sit there and have cutting speech at work, at school. Yeah. Y'all seen that, eh? I don't behave like that all the time. But when you see me having to deal with some of the shit here, yeah. Okay. Well, that's got to stop, and it is stopping now. But I don't talk like this even. I talk like a lawyer. You should see it. It's funny.